Welcome to Ring the Damn Bell. Man, I have a very, very fun interview today. I This gentleman that I'm gonna introduce you to, and he's such a character. I met him in St. Louis, Missouri at Fan Fest. Quickly befriended this guy. He's hard not to befriend. Um, he's 7'3", 356 pounds. The American Giant. How are you doing, my friend?
Good, my friend. How are you doing today?
I am doing excellent, excellent. Let's get into this. I want to go way back to your childhood. Um, were you always a bigger guy? Were you just average and then you just shot up, or when did you notice that you were taller than the average person?
Well, I was an average guy when I was back when I was about 12, 13 years old, and throughout the years, through my middle school, junior high, and high school level, I shot up. I was by the time I graduated from high school, I was about 6'10", 6'10 and a half. And then when I went to college, shortly after that, I stopped at 7 feet. And then after that, when I came down to Tampa Bay, Florida, I ended up being 7'3" and stopped at 7'3".
Now there are other bigger guys. Andre the Giant. There was the Big Show, and they all had the health issues. I think it was even a cancer in the brain that caused them to be so tall. Did you suffer that, or were you just a tall guy?
I never had the cancer of the brain. But they had a giant pituitary gland or something like that. I can't pronounce
Right? Yeah.
that word, but I had that when I was growing up, and throughout the years, I had physicals done, make sure I was in good shape, and doctor said I was growing healthy boy, and I never had any serious issues out of it. Thankfully, thank God for that. Otherwise, I could have had some major medical issues with it, but by God's grace, my friend, I'm in great health. And here I am, 55 years old today, and 7'3", still kicking butt inside the square circle. What needs to be done, get the job done. That's all I got to do.
Man, look, my wife, she's fairly tiny, and she always saw, I'm almost 6'5", and she was just when I stood next to you, she was just amazed how short I looked next to you. Um, were you always interested in professional wrestling? Were you a fan as a kid?
Well, at first I really wasn't. My dad started watching it first, and I was like, "What the heck you got on TV?" I thought this is really, really freaking me out. But the more I watched it throughout the years, and a couple of years I got into it, I started getting into it quite a bit. And one night, my dad and I watched a tag match at Madison Square Garden back in '78. That's when I first started watching it officially. There was the Valiant brothers, Jimmy and Jerry, against Andre and Tito Santana, which we all saw Tito at the Fan Fest a couple weeks ago. And believe me, anytime Tito tags out to Andre, Andre goes out to Jimmy. Jimmy powders out of the ring. It was so freaking funny. It's not even funny. My dad hated the Valiant brothers real bad. And by the time he sat on Jimmy for the 1, 2, 3, he was like, "Man, I'm glad that somebody took care of that guy because he needed to have his butt stretched or whatever the case was, whatever the case is." But yeah, I started getting into it then, and I tell you, I'm glad I started watching it. I started to become a fan when I was a kid. I'll be honest with you.
Now, in school, did you play any sports at all?
I played basketball when I was in the junior high, and then I tried out for the high school JV basketball team. On the third cut, I got cut, and that was a very devastated time because I did not want to be cut. I've always wanted to play basketball at that point.
Right.
But
So, did you go further, college basketball or anything, or it ended at high
no,
school?
I did not. I did not, and there's a story behind it. I hear there's a lot of other people. The wrestling coach comes up to me the next day, says, "Big man, come here. I want to have a little conversation with you." He says that I understand you got cut. A lot of people did not agree with it, and I'm sorry you got cut, but I got an opportunity for you. I said, okay. I understand you love professional wrestling. I'm like, yeah. How did you know about that? He goes, the word's out on you, big boy. So we all know all about you. We know you like a book. And he goes, I can help you develop some basic skills here, and I can help you get from here to the professional level. And I said, okay. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like freaking out on this on the coach. I'm like, yeah, sure. Quit ribbing me. He goes, there's only one guy who I went to Ithaca College with who works for the World Wrestling Federation back then. You know, everybody knows WWE. Of course, everybody knows that. And I said, yeah, right, coach. Who is it? You really want to know who it is? I'm good friends with Gorilla Monsoon. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah. He goes, Buck, don't tempt me because I will call Gorilla. I will have him take care of you if you give me a hard time. That's exactly what he told me. And I said, okay. So he said, when you go down to the War Memorial Auditorium, you tell him that Coach Rock says hello. And I saw Gorilla that 2 days later. He goes, thank you for the message. I am very good friends with him. And brother, when I came back to school the next day, he snapped his fingers. He goes, I told you. He got word that I saw Gorilla 2 days before at the TV taping.
Wow.
And I said, okay, coach, I'll accept it. So I started wrestling when I was a junior. Hardly had any matches because there was no heavyweights in the junior. But when it comes to senior year, I was dominating in the gym, training hard. I started kicking butt on the mat in school, and I did very well in my senior year. And when I graduated, I went to a small college in Syracuse University, and I got a letter one day from a friend of mine who I graduated with. His parents knew Mike Rotundo, and
Oh,
he says that got a letter for you, Buck. Turns around, saw the letter. He had an autographed picture in it. That made my day right there, by the way. Um, it says, if you want to be trained, this is who to contact. He wanted me to contact Dick Byer to the story, the late Dick Byer. And I was like, okay. So I called Dick. Dick found out about me through the Rotundo family. And he told me, he goes, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I just retired from the business. And I'm going to refer your file to the great Malenko, Boris Malenko in Florida. Have you ever heard of him? I said, no, I never heard of him. Never have. You heard of Gordon Soley? I said, yeah, I've heard of Gordon Soley. I see him on TV all the time. He goes, well, you'll get 2 days later, you get a phone call from Malenko. So 2 days later, I get a call from Professor Malenko, and we had a great conversation. He says, if you can get your butt down here, you got true potential, and let's get you started. And I went to the school. Everything was paid for, and I started training. And believe me, I tell you, that was the best day of my life right there when I started training.
now how was wrestling school for you? Did your size get hinder you whatsoever with learning how to take bumps and the cardio aspect of it?
Yes and no. I started to do a lot of basic stuff, you know, the headlock takedowns and everything else, which I can do comfortably. But some of the other bumps, like a back bump, it's a little bit harder for me, even though I could do it. But it's a little bit tougher for the big guys to do it. But the good news about it is, um, I learned it. I can do it, but it's tougher. And especially with the arm drag takedowns. And anytime I take a guy an arm drag takedown, I drop down the one knee and hook him over from there and hook the arm. But some of it was tough, some of it wasn't. It depends what it was.
Right. So once you were finished with wrestling school, where did you go next? You didn't go into WWE or WWF
No,
back then,
never
right
have.
after.
Not yet. Nope.
Right,
I
right,
started back that point. The Tampa Sportatorium was there, and they had on the independent side, they had the National Wrestling Alliance on the independent level. I started off there. I started off at the Sportatorium, and my height, brother, I made a huge impact. And believe me, when I went through the curtain, I was so freaking scared it wasn't even funny. I'll be honest with you. I had butterflies going through my stomach, and Malenko did talk about that stuff. Once you go through that curtain, you're gonna be just fine. And other than that, I started doing great, and here I am, 32 years later, brother. I'm doing great with it, as far
You're
as I'm
doing it.
concerned.
Yep. So tell me your experience in the NWA. Did you go undefeated for a while? Did you take any L's? Tell me about the NWA.
I started off undefeated, and there's a lot of matches that I was involved with that I didn't even understand how to deal with it. But when I first started to lose, I had a match one on one against a 6'10" guy by the name of the Grave Digger.
Mhm.
And one night it was a blanket match. Whoever gets covered for a blanket and get pinned 1, 2, 3 loses the match. Well, I lost to him, true, but here's the deal. After that, there was 3 or 4 other wrestlers jumped in the ring, jumped the Gravedigger. It was a tag team called the Bounty Hunters. Butch Long and
Mm.
Bill Payne. Fidel Sierra, the Cuban assassin, jumped in, and one other, and Buddy Valentine jumped in. I threw them all over the top rope, and I told them, "This has nothing to do with you guys whatsoever. This is between him and I, one on one. Get your butts out of here before I take care of you personally." And brother, ever since I threw all those guys out, it changed my career. All the fans loved me ever since.
How long were
And
you with the NWA?
I, s- uh, I'm gonna say a good 20 years at least.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they changed all that throughout the years. Now everybody calls it the independent level, and
Right.
I was, it all changed, but I lasted pretty darn well with it. I've wrestled some of the top guys on the independent level that came out of the World Wrestling Entertainment. Okay, I'm gonna be straightforward. I'll say the World Wrestling Federation. I don't care who likes it or not. I don't care. Yeah, you got the WCW, and I've wrestled a lot of the guys out of there. We had great matches on the independent circuit. I enjoyed it, and great giving that experience, brother. I am so blessed I did.
Uh, what do you who do you believe your most successful feud was against? And was there a lengthy storyline with it?
I'm gonna say two two different times. One, I got a call to go one on one with the late genius Lanny Popo in Newport Richey,
Mm,
Florida, and I was a heavyweight champion at that time, and they asked me to defend the title. Yes, I am more than glad to wrestle Lanny Popo. He was a great technical wrestler. He was a great athlete, and the one thing that really touched me was even though he beat me for the title, it was by somebody coming in and do the screw job on me. Lanny turns around to the referee. He goes, "Real, I really don't mind winning the match, brother, but when it comes to cheating, no. Sasquatch is still your champion." And I was going by the 7 foot Sasquatch back then, by the way. I just want to clarify that.
right.
Um, he says, "This is still your champion, and I'll take the victory." A month later, him and I tagged up against a tag team combination of J.D. Slaughter and the Lebanese Assassin, with Lanny's dad, the great Angelo Papa, in our corner. Had a great tag
Wow.
match. Boot him, get him the big boot. Lanny did his maneuver off the top rope. 1, 2, 3, got the victory. And that's one. Number two, my match with Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin. That night when he jumped the Gravedigger, I said, "That's it." I was thinking, I want a match with USA versus Cuba. We had a match, let's say about a month or two later after that, somewhere in there. Um, we had a great short run with that match, and he got disqualified for throwing the powder in my eyes, blinding me thanks to the distraction of fantasy. And number two, on the following month, I got disqualified because I kept on choking the heck out of one on the outside of the ring. I would not let go. And before after that, one thing led to another. But USA, in my opinion, um, did the job right. And I prevailed. Let's put it that way. In my own heart, I prevailed it. So,
Now,
and I told,
go ahead.
I will say this: Fidelcio is a great, great, great professional athlete. Very well experienced. He's been around a long time. I have a lot of respect. And I told people before on Facebook, if you guys cheat, I'm going to stop the cheating. That's simple. And just like the late Jimmy Superfly Snuka used to say, yeah, you got to have respect for each and every individual professional wrestlers. That's what I do have respect for all the wrestlers.
So Bob Cook, who you know, who's also my co-host on Tuesdays,
Hmm.
he said, "Man, the American Giant's a great guy, but he works stiff in the ring. Have you or do you have um do
I love you,
has
Bob. I love you, brother. Bob's right. I'll tell you the reason behind that one. We had, oh God, that Bob brings back the memories. Bob and I was involved with a battle royal with Bob Cook in it, and he, um, him and I were the last two or three or four guys in the ring, and his manager, Delicious D, comes on the ringside and steps on the top rope. And before I even saw her step on the apron, I gave Bob a stiff shot right in the side of the neck or something. I forgot what it was. I did accidentally stiff him. It was an honest accident. He was like, "What?" I can hear him think that. What the hell is this giant goof doing? And as it turns out, I see Delicious D on the apron. She goes like this. She says, "Give me a cheek." Everybody's like, "Don't go for it! Don't go for it!" She gives me on the cheek, and Bob and one of the other guys threw me over the top rope. And I was like, is this what I get for stiffing him in the ring?" And I see Tugboat, if I see Fred Upman and Tugboat sitting over, he goes, "No, no, no, don't do it, Giant. Don't. I got thrown out, but yeah, I accidentally stiffed Bob. I was like, oh, Jesus. I thought I'd never hear the end of that one, but that's true.
he's
He's right about
probably
that.
he probably deserved it.
Oh, all the
So
time, man. I told him, I said, you keep on doing that, you get the nails right here. But no, Bob's a great guy. Love you, brother. You know how that goes.
now you mentioned Tugboat, and Fred is such a. I've never met or spoke to him personally. I'm
Yes.
friends with him on social media, and just by the posts that he makes, and he likes some of my stuff, you can tell he's just a great, great, genuine guy.
Oh,
Have
God,
you
yes,
ever
he is.
faced him? Have you ever
No,
faced
never
him in the
wrestled.
ring? Oh,
No,
that'd be
never
one
have.
hell of a match, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
If I was around his age bracket or around that time, I would have loved to wrestle Tugboat. Not a problem. He probably whipped my butt, to be honest with you, but that's okay. I'll still give it a shot. You never know.
Never
Just don't
know.
know, man. Right.
Who is the most recognizable wrestler, in your opinion, that you faced in the ring?
The most recognizable. Um, I'm going to say Scott Hall and Kevin Nash is
WCW,
one of
which
them.
we're gonna, yep, which
WCW.
we're gonna go to. Right,
I was
right.
I was asked to tag up with the late Pistol Pez Wally, and everybody knows that it's all over YouTube. That was one of my toughest matches I had.
Yeah,
Even though I was defeated, if you don't go in there and have the heart to try it out and try to do the best you can, how do you know how you're going to do? It's
right.
they got more experience than me. Kevin Nash had the upper strength and the body on me. Um, I enjoyed being in there with them. It's a great experience. And after
Yeah,
that, the bookers came up to me and they told me that you did a great job, and we appreciate you, and we're gonna we'll keep in contact somehow. I said, yeah. I said, if you guys ever need me again, please give me a shout. And they said they would. Arn Anderson was very, very nice about that one. So was Eric Bischoff, and they were both nice to me, very pleasant.
yeah.
And the other
How was
one,
it?
like
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
other one that the second half of the question will be definitely be the Cuban assassin. And I try to get hold of promoters in the past. If anybody will sign a match, USA versus Cuba again here in the future, I want a match with Fidel here again, and USA versus Cuba.
That would
Like
be
I say,
awesome.
he's a great wrestler. I respect him. He's a great talent. He's been around a long time, very well experienced. But here's the thing in my back of my mind: the cheating. That's the only problem I got with any of the wrestlers: cheating.
Right.
And
Right.
stand up, do the best you can, and get it done. That's all I'm going to say about that.
So tell me about Pistol Paz Wally because I grew up watching him. I was always
Uh
a
huh.
fan of his. What was he like as an individual?
Oh golly, Jesus, he's funny as heck. He likes to rib people a little bit. I I went to there was another time I went to Lakeland, Florida. Nitro was out there doing the TV taping, and a couple of the guys came up to me, says, "Big guy, can you do us a favor?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We want you to pull a rib on Pistol Fez." I said, "What do you?" I said, "I'm not gonna get in trouble with Pistol Fez." Really? I said, "What do you want to do?" He said, "I want you to give him the shocker." I go, "Okay, what's the shocker?" Take your two fingers and squeeze the side of his thigh. He'll jump like a monkey. And before you know, I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not going to do that to Pez. I love Pez. I said, if you guys make me do this, if I get in trouble, I'm coming back on you guys. Luger was involved with that one. So was Piper. Oh my God, Jesus, here we go. And before you know it, I did it. He jumped up all the way up and down as if there's electricity going through his feet, all the way up to his brain. He's running to go, he goes, big guy, who the hell told you to tell me to do that? I said, Piper and then Luger. And even Nash did. We did not tell you to do that, you big goof. We told you not to do it. They set me up with that one.
Now
They set me up with that one.
you mentioned the name Luger, which is Lex Luger. Um,
Right.
he he had a reputation for a long time of just being a jerk. Um, supposedly he was only wrestling, and he even admitted that he wasn't a fan of professional wrestling. He got into it for the money. Um,
Hmm.
did you experience having to deal with Lex Luger in a negative way at all back then?
I never really knew Lex personally on a personal level. I've seen him a few times when he was up at the WWE when he had the Lex Express. I was standing there when the bus came in, and where was it? I think it was Utica or somewhere, maybe Syracuse. Anyway, somewhere up there. Lex would say hello to me, and that was it. Um, I knew that, like I said, I knew he had, and I hate to say this about anybody, but a lot of guys had the big head back then,
Mhm.
and you can tell. I respected Luger. I said, "Hi, how are you?" But blah 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 blah, and moved on. Uh, but other than that, I don't really know Luger that well.
Yeah. Now you mentioned
But
you went to WCW, and I know it's just for a short time. But did you have any? What was your experience with the guys that were running WCW? Arn Anderson, Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff kind of had a bad reputation as well. What's your experience dealing with those guys?
I never had any trouble with him. I've heard the same thing that Eric Bischoff was doing had some bad experience with other guys, but me personally, he never did anything negative to me whatsoever. He shook my hand. He asked me how the match went with the Outsiders. I told him. Arn Anderson was a great guy. He was very, very pleasant, and even Paul Wollendorf was very pleasant. And you know, um, but Orndorff was very, very pleasant as well. And they all said that you did a great job, very professional. But I did hear a lot of situations with Bischoff and all them guys. But to me, like I said before, I tell everybody else, if I'm not involved, it's none of my business.
Right, right.
It's that's
So I read an article that talked about WCW, and they said one of the issues in WCW was that all the guys didn't share the same dressing room. That your top guys had their own private dressing room. When you were
Hmm.
there, did you notice that your Hogans and your Kevin Nashes, they all had their own dressing room, and you all
I
were
knew
kind of
Hogan. I knew Hogan did. There's no doubt about that. Hogan did. What led to that? Like I said, that's his business, not mine.
right,
I shared a locker room with Ted DiBiase, Luger, the Barbarian, the Big Show. I think the Steiner brothers were up there at the time. So I think the Steiner brothers, but there's a few more that
yeah.
I shared with.
And
But
those are some pretty big names as well. So um, it seems to me that a lot of the stuff that was written by WCW then, a lot of the negative stuff, wasn't exactly true. Yeah, your Hulk Hogan had his own dressing room, but I mean, if Lex Luger and the Barbarian and the other guys that you mentioned was, Ted DiBiase, for love of God, a huge legend, was in the same dressing room as you, then
mhm,
it seems like that is a bunch of BS than what came out about WCW as far as guys being treated a certain way.
right. Like
Yeah,
I said, the only thing I knew about that was Hogan did have his own dressing room, and other than that, I've seen a lot of guys share the one room, and then, the ladies have their own dressing room too,
right.
and that's one thing that I really commend them about. Keep the ladies with the ladies and the men with the men. Keep it old
Right.
school, simple to the point. It's that simple. Keep it
Yeah.
professional.
So besides the match that you had with at WCW against Kevin Nash, or when you was with Pistol Paz Watley, um, why don't you think they ever offered you a long time contract with them?
I have no idea, brother. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I would have loved to work with. I would, sorry about that. That was my
You good?
darn spam calls. I hate them darn things. um, I would have loved to work with WCW. I would have loved to work with the WWE, but the WWE is a different story that I got a little experience with, or what the experience of that was.
Yep. And we're going to
Um,
get to that.
yeah, I'll share
Um,
with that in a minute when you're ready.
yeah. So I want
Uh,
to stay on WCW for a second. Um, do you think there's a possibility that because the Big Show was there, that they only wanted to have one giant?
um, I don't see why they can't bring in a couple more giants in. The
Right.
WWE brought in Andre, John Studd, and all those guys, King Kong Bundy. You know,
Mhm.
WCW could have brought more 7 footers in there, and that's what makes the product work.
Right.
Instead of seeing today's, and I don't mean to sound like it is, I'm going to tell it the way it is. Instead of seeing today's talent going flip flop in the ring, they can use the 7 footers, tell a story, beat the beat downs on them, whatever the case is. Then have me wrestle the Big Show, for instance. I would have loved to work the Big Show, or
Right.
wrestle the Big Show.
Yeah, that would have
Um,
been
you
money.
know, yeah, it really have. And my theory is, make the fans happy. If they're not happy,
Right.
you're going to know. It's just
Right.
that simple. That
Right.
simple.
So when you did have that one match at WCW, was this when WCW was at their height of popularity, or was it when they were starting to go down?
I think it was the height of their popularity. Um, when I went in there that night and put my trunks on and get ready for the matches, a lot of people were talking about the NWO being at that height level, doing their part with the WCW. I'm gonna have to say it's their height at that point. Then shortly after that, when I left, it started to go down a little bit,
Right.
from what
Right.
I heard.
Now, how was it working with Kevin Nash in the ring?
Oh jeez, oh jeez, Kevin was great to work with, in my opinion. I mean, he was a little stiff, but not too bad. Um, he did basically just did what he had to do with me and just follow the flow. And he came up to me afterwards. Great job. Shook my hand. Never had any complaints. Same thing with Scott Hall. Great job.
Yeah, that was my next question because Scott Hall was struggling with substance abuse back then.
Right.
Um, how was he working inside of the ring? Did you get a feel that he was sober? Did you get a feel that he may have been intoxicated?
Not at that point. No. I mean, he was stiff. Don't get me wrong. Uh, Anything else? No. I mean, I could have smelled alcohol on his breath for all I know, and he could still work sober. And
Right,
if I found out that he was, for example, drugged up, I would have to say no. I can't work with that. Can't do it.
right.
That's not
Yeah, I
leading by
mean,
example.
well, that
So
and
it makes
he could hurt you too.
right.
You could get hurt. So was there any type of a storyline leading into you making your debut in WCW with Pistol Paz Wally, or is this something they just kind of threw together?
Just threw it together at the last minute. Uh, Navy SEAL was scheduled to tag up with Pez. Um, Apparently he couldn't make it. I think he had something else he had going on. He wasn't able to do the tag. So I was approached at the last second. I said, "Yeah, I'll be glad to replace Navy. It's not a problem." And before you know it, we did it. 10 minutes later, go home. 30 days later, I got a big paycheck from Ted Turner.
So let's talk about WWE for a moment. I know you never worked for WWE, but you had an experience with WWE. Let's talk about that.
Oh, people will not believe it. They weren't there when it happened. I'm going to tell it the way it is. The Monday Night Raw was happening at the USF Sundome in Tampa. And this one car comes back, parks next to the garage. It was Pat Patterson and Vince McMahon. Vince got out, saw me, shook my hand. Hi, how are you? I said, good, Vince. How are you, sir? He said, good, good, good. He had that little angle going on where you're starting to be a little cocky. Everybody does. And I went to Vince privately. I said, Mr. McMahon, if you needed the next wrestler to work with tonight, I'd be more than happy to work for you. He slaps his hand away from me, and this is exactly what he told me. Get the F away from me. We don't even deal with jabronis like you.
Wow.
Okay, no problem. I stepped back, and the security guard was looking at me. He goes, what happened? I told him. He goes, just stay here, big guy. About 20 minutes later, Chief J Strongbone George Steele came to me, pointed me over, says, big guy, we heard a rumor about you. I said, okay. We heard that you went to Vince. Is that true? I said, yes, sir, it is. He says, whatever you do not go to Vince. You come to us. We're the bookers. And he says, I'll put it to you this way. A lot of guys are leaving the World Wrestling Federation because the situation is going on. That's all he said. And Jay looked at me. He gave me a lot of comfort. He says, we know that you broke in. Learn. Just learn, and you'll be just fine. I mean, Jay was very pleasant to me because we all make mistakes. Every one of us did. And I said, thank you, Jay. He goes, no, thank you. He goes, you were doing fine, and then you made a mistake. That's lesson learned, and move on. Yes, sir. George was very pleasant as well. And shortly after they left, the security guard comes up to me. He goes, big guy, if you do not leave this premises immediately, we're going to have you arrested for trespassing. Okay. Do you know where the sportatorium is in Tampa on Albany Avenue? Yeah.
Hmm.
If I catch you guys in there, I'll have my guys throw you out. I'll put it to you this way: do not, and I repeat, do not disrespect the boys. Big mistake. And I left after that. So I went home, got something to eat, put it on. Man, I'm not gonna watch them guys tonight. The hell with it. I'm watching a different TV show. I put a regular TV program, put it behind me, and move on.
Yeah.
That's all. Till the next time.
Yeah. You know, and I've always said this, and some people have disagreed with me. WCW, for whatever reason, doesn't know how to book their bigger guys like you. Yeah, Andre the Giant had his success, but if going to be honest, Andre had his most of his success in other places. He was only with WWE for a short time.
Right.
The Big
Right.
Show had success there for a while, but then they started to book him pretty much as an enhanced talent. Um, why don't you? What is the issue? Why don't you think WC or WWE? Why don't they know how to book the bigger guys? Or have you seen this across most promotions? They don't know how to book guys your size.
Well, I'm gonna. I've been asked that question quite a bit, and this is my answer. WWE later in WCW, a lot of the new talent do not know how to wrestle a giant.
Mhm.
That's on the independent level. That's with the WCW, the WWE, or TNA, or even AEW today. I gotta admit, I have a hard time getting booked right now because smaller guys rather go flip flop in the ring and show off their ability and slash muscles, so to speak, and not working with the big guys to tell a story. I tell everybody else, if you're going to put butts in seats, you got to tell the damn story.
Right,
That's
right.
simple. Because if you don't, you're going to lose fans. I've had several great matches in Florida over the years, and you know, I've had several of them. Up to this point, I even have a hard time getting booked in Florida. I can't even get a match booked between me and Fidel Sierra. Why?
Wow.
They don't want to see it. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, huh, I just find that kind of odd, if you ask me.
Right,
But
right.
I'm not a promoter. I'm just a regular employee as an active wrestler. That's all I am.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I think that it's hard to believe a guy your size that they're not, you're not getting people trying to bust open the doors.
right,
Especially being that you're a big guy and with your character because you are such a great guy. Again, 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes of talking to you. And there's just that connection. And we started joking around with each other, throughout the whole weekend. I think
sure,
it's a shame. But, I know that you believe in kayfabe as well as I do.
big deal,
Kayfabe
big
seems to
time.
have been kayfabe seems to have been lost in professional wrestling. And my question is this: Would you? So WWE is coming out with this program that's going to be on Netflix, where they show exactly how the writing is done, and basically just opening up the curtain wide for fans to see. Now, I made a decision that I'm not going to watch it because, again, I like kayfabe. Um,
Right.
how do you feel about the curtain being open for fans to see all of this stuff?
I don't agree with it. You're exposing the business. There's no need for that. What we're gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna sit there and say, "Hey, be nasty," or not nasty, but mean to each other in a public place and doing our jobs, and then tell. It's like writing a book, and it's like writing Curious George rides a bike. If you think about it, and yeah, I don't know how to ride a bike. Before you know it, they show you behind the scenes how to ride a bike.
Hmm.
Same thing here. It needs to go back to kayfabe. No question about it. I'm old school. I'm always going to be old school. That's how Boris Malenko trained me, and the Malenko brothers trained me. Old school. That's what I believe in. And I'm not saying there's new talent is good because there's a lot of great new talent today. Here's the thing I'm going to say. Keep it simple, keep it logical, and keep it making it look believable. That's all I'm going to say
Right.
about that.
Um, if you had the power to book your dream match, your own opponent, regardless if it's a past legend or a current superstar, who would that be?
That's a good question. I got several of them. If I would say if Andre was still living, I would love to have a match with Andre. Why? Experience as a big guy. I've always respected Andre the Giant. He was a great in his time. He did very, very well, and he did a great job. John Studd's another one. King Kong, the big guys, King Kong Bundy, or the Great Khali, even.
Right.
Tell it, give it experience, tell it the way it is, make it look believable, do your job, and do it just great job. And brother, I tell you what, nowadays it's hard to do that.
Mhm.
And how does that make a giant or a big guy like my size feel like? Feel like you just want to drive down there and squash the damn people.
Right. Right.
That's how I am
Yeah.
sometimes. And if I'll put it to you this way, if WWE was to call me right now and say we want to offer you a contract to work for us, I will go down and see what they have to say, or AEW, whoever. I know they're top guns, you know, but if you don't get that experience, I've been around for a long time. A big guy like my size deserves to work with different people instead of working independent shows repeatedly over and over and over again. How are you going to
Right.
grow if you don't bring them in?
Right.
And here's one more thing I want to point out. They got their groups. They want to see the same guys over and over and over again. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Rotate them out. That's
Yep.
simple.
Yep. Oh, I agree. I mean, that's one thing that on my weekly podcast, when we're doing reviews of the weekly shows, that's something we're constantly talking about is you get tired of just seeing the same guys over and over and over again.
Right.
You have so many great people that are back in the locker room or in catering and not getting TV time. It does. It gets real old. I want to ask you about someone though. Are you familiar with Big Bill? He's currently on
Big Bill.
AEW. Yeah, he's currently AEW.
No.
He used to do work with oh, I can't remember the little guy's name. But he's a pretty big guy. Very nice build. Yeah, I was curious if you were familiar with his work. So, would you be
I,
willing to
I,
go? Go ahead.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
One more
Go
time.
ahead.
I didn't hear you.
Oh no, I was gonna say I was just gonna ask you if you were familiar with his work. He used to work at WWE with Enzo, a smaller guy. So you're not familiar with Big Bill at all?
Unless I see his face, I have no idea who you're talking about.
No.
I'll be honest with you.
Yep, yep. So if WWE or AEW offered you a contract and they want to bring you there just to put other guys over, basically them using you as an enhanced talent, would you be willing to do that, or do you feel like that would
That's fine with
ruin
me.
kind of what you built?
I think I'll do that I think I'll do that for a season.
Mhm.
Then again, if you're doing a great job along the way, give them a push along the way after a certain time. See what happens. I mean, I don't mind that.
Right,
That way, you're going out there helping out the company, represent the company. As I've said in the past, I will represent professional wrestling the way I was taught and continue to do it today.
right,
And
right.
there's a lot of guys out there who will not do that. And this is one thing, Kevin, that really, really bugs the hell out of me. Guys wrestle in there for 5 years, and all of a sudden they're in the Hall of Fame. What kind of a situation is that?
Right.
You got to serve much more time in there than anybody else. You got to put at least 30 years in. Like Ricky Flair, Dusty Rhodes, who else? Alpha and Sika, the Samoans,
Yep.
all those guys. 5 years is not. 5 years is nothing compared to what these guys paid for. They did
Right.
put their lives on the line and paid. Or not, sorry, I said that wrong. and get paid to do what they do to put butts in seats that represent wrestling.
Right.
And you know, people can call me delusional all they want. I don't care. I'm not delusional. I just go by what I've experienced and
Mhm.
who I was trained by and taught by over the years.
Right.
That's all there is to it. You're
Well,
not going to
you're old
listen.
school.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
definitely old school.
you're old school. Do you want to protect the business?
That's right.
You know,
That's
would
right.
you think about John Cena and John Cena actually breaking Ric Flair's record for the amount of times winning a championship?
Well, it doesn't matter how many times you break the record winning championship. Championship matches, championship belts are nothing compared to what needs to be done to put butts in seats. And you know, championships do not put you over all the time,
Mhm.
unless you're working with your partner to make the match look believable. I've held several championships throughout the years, and the most important thing to me is how the match went and what we can do to improve so the fans will come back.
Right. Right.
That's simple. That's how I look at it. It's great to hold championship belts, yes, but what's most important is winning the hearts and the hearts of the fans so they can come back and see you wrestle again.
Yeah. So you is there anybody that you would just absolutely refuse to work with, either today's stars or yesteryear's stars for whatever reason?
Well, the stars is not. It's not what my concern is. The only thing I will not wrestle, who I will wrestle, is backyarders.
Hmm.
The backyard stars, and I've had this question asked me several times. Number one, I had a match one time that I was asked to wrestle. I asked about his experience, who he's trained by. Oh, we've never been trained by. I said he's a backyard. Nope, I will not wrestle a backyarder. Nope. Well, we're gonna put him over on you. No, you're not. Number one, you're not experienced. Number two, it's going to cause fatality. And number three, somebody's going to get hurt. I refuse. I refuse. That's simple.
Yep.
People can get mad at me all they want about that. You got to tell the truth the way it is. I'm
Right.
like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Get out there and tell the truth. And if
Right.
I'm wrong, then show me where I'm wrong, and I'll be glad to fix it. No problem.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Uh, do you keep up with today's product a whole lot?
Not really, no. Once in a while, I'll turn on the WWE, and I look at it, I'm like, you guys got a kid. They're doing more talking than they do wrestling.
Hmm.
That turns me off, being honest. AEW does better than WWE at times. And one thing that Greg Valentine mentioned a while back, if I remember right, is that they do old school stuff, but they do like a comedy type situation. They don't do it the actual situation, like when Greg was back working with wrestling Bob Backlund or Playboy Buddy Rose or Tony Gurria and all those guys. Those guys put their butts on the line every night compared, to wrestling. Nowadays, yes, they do wrestle, but it's in a comedy level, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
you know, that's just my opinion. Everybody has their opinion about things. But my opinion is if you're going to work a match or wrestle a match or ref a match or anything like that, do it right.
What was your best match in your opinion, and who was it against?
My best match, um, again, that's a hard question to answer. I've had several of them. Start by saying one of the guys who wrestled for WCW, just to the tongue, by the way. He went under the name Nasty Ned Brady.
Hmm.
I know people will remember him. Nasty Ned Brady and I had a great match on several occasions. Well, it was nice and tight. It was really enjoyable. There was another one. Lanny Poffo was another one, and definitely Fidel Sierra, the Cuban Assassin. Um, there was another one more that just came to mind. CB Offee, the cousin of Superfly Snuka.
Hmm.
We had a great match one night, and it went nice and smooth. I mean, there's a lot of the top guys who I wrestled back then that just retired or their contract was limited, whatever the case was. We had great matches and took it nice and slow and just did it. You know, it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter who did what, where, when, how, why. The important thing is please the fans.
Right. Right. Now, is there a match that you've had that you wish that you could go back and redo that match?
Well, number one would be the Cuban Assassin. I
Mhm.
will love. I will want to wrestle him again. Here's the thing. Like I said, I am petitioning the promoters to somehow sign that match. We will. I know I can have a great match with him. Um, there's another one possibly. Maybe. What's his name? I can't remember now. Um, uh, I forgot. I have to think about that one. But I just lost the train of thought. Would I would like to wrestle Tito Santana in a scientific match? Of course. You know,
Right.
Tito is a great athlete. I mean, he was very very good. You know, I respected the guy. I mean, the guy was a great talent. Greg Valentine was another good one. A whole host of others. And there's
Yeah.
one recently, and I don't know if you heard about this or not. I ran into Boogeyman at the Fan Fest. He knew who I was. I said, Boogeyman, look, if you can get the match done between you and I, let's do it. He looked
Right.
at me. He goes, I don't mind wrestling you sometime. Well, let's do something about it.
That
Oh,
would
that's
be
good. That's
awesome.
good. Yeah, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, any of
I
them. If they're more than willing, I'm more than willing.
I would love to see a match between you and Joe Helms,
Yep,
the
Joe Helms is
silverback.
another great. Yep, Joe. I was going to mention Joe. Joe is a great athlete. I just saw him, in the battle royal while we were there. Joe's a great,
Yep.
solid guy. I would love to wrestle him anytime. If he agrees to it, I'll be more than happy to wrestle him. No question about it. Yep,
You know what?
absolutely. Great guy.
I'm going to work on that. I am because that's the
Okay.
match I would love to happen. Um, I want some stories from you. I know you probably have a lot of good wrestling stories, some really good ribs that happened. That's how
Oh
I
yeah.
want to end the
So,
podcast is with you telling some few stories.
okay, I got two of them I'll share with you. Actually, three. I'll make it short. I promise you.
No, go as long as
One
you
night,
want.
one night, me, Nasty Boy, Sags, Jim Powers, and J.W. Storm went out after a house show one night, and I had a hard time getting my car out of the ditch. So we got it out of the ditch. Sags told me, he goes, "Do you mind if I drive the car to the restaurant?" I said, "Okay, not a problem," because I can take a break. I had to take a breather. Lo and behold, not even 10 minutes later, Sags drove my car into a snowbank. Him, Powers, JW left me sitting there for 3.5 hours while they went back to the restaurant to eat dinner, laughing their butts off. I finally got my car out of the snowbank, drove back to the restaurant where I used to hang out at. And one of the bartender knew me very well. He goes, Buck, come here. He goes, are you all right? I said, yeah, I just got out of the snowbank. I said, by the way, is Nasty Boy Sags down there? He goes, yeah. Do me a favor. I'm going to order all you can eat fish and chips dinner. Sags says he will pick up the bill. He'll pick up my tab. Okay, you sure about that? Yeah. The bartender gave him his ticket. You should have saw the look on Sags' face. I'm being double charged for what? Big guy said, you're taking care of his dinner. Sags looks at me. I looked at him. I said, that's what you get for leaving me in the snowbank. Uh, yeah, yep. That's my dinner for the night. So I had free dinner that night. That was great. I loved it. He got a little upset about it, but he got over it. I said, and I said, hey, see you next time. And there was another night, and I'll never forget this one. The Nasty Boys, The Undertaker, the Iron Sheik, and I went out to dinner one night after a house show. Undertaker was sitting on the left of me. Sheiky was sitting on the right. Knobs and Sexy was sitting in front of me. Undertaker comes up to me, whispers to me, he goes, I want you to pull a rib on Sheiky. So what do you want me to do? Tell him you're going to stretch him from here back to Iran and see what he says. I'm not going to tell him that. Are you serious? I'm not going to get. No, no, no. He'll love the rib. He'll know what we're talking about. I said, if I get in trouble for this, I promise you, I'm going to deal with you, Taker. No, no, no. We'll cover you. Don't worry about it. I go, Sheiky. He goes, yes, Buck. I said, I'm going to stretch you from here back to Iran, you Iranian freak. He drops his spoon, looks at me. He's eating chicken noodle soup, puts me in a headlock. He says, now you sit there, you behave yourself. Now I'm just sitting there hitting me across the head. What's the matter with you? Sags is looking at me also. He goes, how dare you say that to the Iron Sheik? I said, the Undertaker told me to tell him that. I did not tell you to tell him that. I told you not to tell him that, for crying out loud. You're going to get hurt. And Sheiky's like, did you put him up to it? He finally admitted it. Later on that night, I drove the guys back to the hotel. They had to get the next day. This one little kid, I don't know where he came from, he gets on top of the dresser. He looks at me and goes, hey, Bucky. I said, what? Superfly. He drops off the dresser and lands on me onto the bed. I sat on the Undertaker's hat that he wears to the ring. Undertaker looks at me. He goes, big guy, I got to wear this on TV tomorrow night. I popped it back out. I said, there you go. Because that's what you get for setting me up with the Sheik. I said, don't ever do that to me again.
Now,
And after that, it was fun. It was all fun.
did you know the Undertaker well?
I met him through Knobs and Sags. And earlier that night, Sags asked me to go pick him up at the airport, and not the airport, but the hotel, and bring him back to the restaurant. I go, Taker. He looks at me and goes, Nasty, follow me. I'm taking you over. Tricks said, gets in the car. Thank you for picking me up. I said, well, thanks, Sags. And that, ever since then, it was games on, all fun. We had a blast that night. They didn't do no, they weren't out there to hurt anybody or anything like that. It was all rib. That was my biggest
Right.
rib I ever had, being stretched by the Iron Sheik. You can
Yeah.
ask Knobs about that one. He'll tell you.
The Undertaker. He was pretty much kayfabe 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yes,
Um,
that's correct. I did hear that too. I'm glad he was.
yeah,
I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah.
He's
I
very. He's
think
very. Very.
yeah, it would be awesome to see you
Yeah.
against Undertaker in a match. That'd be another good match.
Hey, I would have loved to.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but
Man,
no.
thank you for coming on. You're always welcome to be on this podcast. Is there anything happening that you want to promote?
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to promote this. Here recently, in the upcoming, I got two matches coming up this weekend in the Illinois area, and then I will be at Danville, Kentucky, doing a Comic Con, and then later on in August, I would do have another Comic Con in August, and I'll be making my way to Las Vegas for the CAC convention. I was advised to go there, and I got all that squared away. Lifetime membership, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of guys there and meeting different promoters. And believe me, man, I'll tell you one thing. Hopefully, we'll get some good things come out of it, and get some more matches in the future. And there's only one thing I'm going to tell them all when it's all said and done. the only thing I want to mention, and I want to mention this first before we go.
Yeah.
There is three reasons why people. I was asked, well, why did they call you the American Giant? Three reasons. One, I'm 7'3". Two, I'm an American. Three, I'm a giant in heart, not giant in size, in heart, which means if I'm willing to step into the ring with anybody talented, there's only one true giant in professional wrestling. Andre was it. He's the boss. That's simple. And I will go on when it comes to the end of the night at each night at the fan and the fans at the CAC. There's only one thing I'm going to say. I'll talk to you next time. And do me a favor, guys. What's that? Giant out.
You know what? You may be a happy man because we're going to also be in Vegas for the CAC
Yes.
reunion. So that's going to
Okay.
be an awesome time. I'm going to be there. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again, man. You know,
Uh,
maybe you could maybe I'll let you choke slam me through a table or something while we're there.
nah, not that night. No, when I'm there, no, I'm going to go sit there and greet everybody. I'll do that in the ring, no problems.
Yeah.
Now, if it comes to Joe Helms, he's a different story. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, Joe, but yeah, no. But
Oh
yes,
man, you're go ahead.
on a serious level, brother, if Joe is willing to wrestle me one on one, I am more than willing to wrestle him. He's a great athlete, and I'll enjoy wrestling him, no matter how the match turns out.
I'm going to be talking to him later today, so I'm going to pitch this because I think it would be I think it would be so entertaining and a really really good match between you guys.
Yes, yes.
You are such a great guy, and I can't thank you enough for taking time out to do this. I know you're on the road. Hell, you're in a hotel right now.
Yep.
So it means a lot that you'd be willing to take the time to talk, talk to me for an hour. I really appreciate it.
Well,
You are always welcome.
well, there's only one thing that Dusty Rhodes used to say all the time: if you don't put your time into your careers, believe me, then what the hell are you doing in the business?
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
and Jerry Lawler said the same thing.
Right.
You know.
Yep. Well, if you're ever in Minnesota, where I'm at, you got a free place to stay at, my man.
Oh, I appreciate that. And finally, I want to
Absolutely.
make before we close,
Yep.
I want to make one
But
mention. The people asking me about my T-shirt. I got it on today. The 733 Posse. Anybody's interested in ordering a T-shirt, you can go to territorytees.com and pick up your size. And it's online. And I'll be thankful for your support in my career. And let's keep USA going, brother. And stand up for what's right in America and represent professional wrestling the way it is. That's that simple.
absolutely. I tell you what, man, you send me a 3X, I will wear it every time I do the podcast for a month.
Okay,
I
I'll see
do
what
like
I
help
can do.
promote it. So,
Yes, sir.
but again, thank you, man, so much. Anytime you want to come
Thank
on to
you.
promote something, you just let me know, and you're always welcome. I appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Any of the promoters out there that's jumping to watch this, man, you will not go wrong, and you won't be disappointed if you book the American Giant. He is a great guy and a great athlete. And he would definitely put asses in seats, 100%. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we will be doing the review of SmackDown. We're going to be talking about what we thought about the matches and the show as a whole. Until then, you guys have a great Friday. I will see you all tomorrow night. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget, July 1st, we'll be changing the name to Get Your Bell Rung, not ring the bell, ring the damn bell. Same people who's going to be on though, so you guys won't be losing any of the entertainment. Again, Giant, thank you so much, my friend. You have a safe trip. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.